Hi, it's Ashley from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop and welcome back to my channel where I make a lot of cake and cookie decorating tutorials as well as give a lot of baking business tips. And it's the weekend, so you know the drill. It's another baking vlog. I'm feeling very into these lately, so I'm going to be showing you everything that I make this weekend. It's my nephew's birthday and I also have my sister-in-law's wedding shower. So two big things, plus if you recall my last baking vlog, I did a whole thing with the Little Mermaid stuff and I forced, not really, Aliya to work with me, Cake Legend here on YouTube. So I'm also going to be showing you how I'm going to treat her for helping out her friend. So like all good vlogs, we have to start out with the food shot. We had Vietnamese takeout. I always get takeout when I'm doing really big baking days so that I don't have to worry about cooking. Yes, that was my plate, and yes, I ate everything. So I was on spring break the last couple weeks, and this time my husband went to go pick up the groceries. So of course, it doesn't always get put away, it just kind of lingers there for a while. So I'm just gonna tidy that up while I prep to actually start baking, which by the way has taken me forever. After that dinner, I was sitting on the couch for a significant amount of time. I just couldn't get going. You know, when you just need to motivate yourself and say, I'm gonna go finish this. So my goal was to just get all of the cakes baked because I knew that the next day I would have to actually decorate everything. Also, I found this even smaller version of mini eggs, so I of course had to get them and I can't wait to use them for this upcoming weekend. The plan is to make around 3 dozen chocolate cupcakes as per the request of my nephew for his birthday, and then I'm also going to do a chocolate cake for my sister-in-law for her wedding shower. Now, there was no specific cake request, so whenever I can, I always like to just bulk up on how much cake I'm making and only make one recipe to make things way easier. I always go with a 2-tiered cake for events when possible, but they're always really small, so I know that they photograph fairly large, but they're only a 6-inch and a 4-inch usually. I could just make a regular 8-inch cake, but I feel like the 2-inch just has a little bit more pizzazz, and especially because I am planning on going with something a little bit more simple for this. My sister-in-law is very simple with what she likes for her cake designs. So I just think having a 2-tier makes things look a little bit more special and not just like your average grocery store cake. Here I'm making my classic chocolate cake, and I actually discovered that I ran out of vegetable oil, which is a fairly key component in this cake. Now, I know that generally if you're making a cake, you want to go with something like butter instead for the fat. It creates a more dense cake and it makes it a lot more stable. But I usually use vegetable oil. It works better for cupcakes, but it can also be used for the cake. In this instance, because I ran out of vegetable oil, I actually just added in some melted butter instead. To stabilize the cake even a little bit more, I always tend to use whipping cream instead of whole milk or 2% milk. I just find it gives a little bit more body to it. Here, I made some of these last week. You might have seen that in my video. We didn't end up using them, but those starfish cake pops were supposed to be just what I said, starfish, but instead we're going to use them as Paw Patrol stars since Chase is my nephew's favorite character. Now, other than just getting the cakes baked, I did want to make sure that I crumb coated the cake fully. I really like to do this the night before just so that everything is really solidified and it makes decorating everything go so much faster. So of course, I'm making my classic Italian meringue buttercream. I know I did a whole buttercream series where I tried out a bunch, and by the way, I will continue to keep trying them out, but for some reason, I still keep going back to Italian meringue buttercream. I just love the way it turns out, and I'm so used to the process. Cupcakes are finished baking, and I do have 2 ovens, but I find my electric does a better job, so I generally bake all my cupcakes first, and then I go ahead and bake any cakes that I might have. Now it's time to dip the cake pops, and this is something that I like to do in advance. I find the cake pops stay moist and fresh and don't go bad up to a week, so I do this when I can in advance, and I have the time right now. So I ended up being a little bit more ambitious than I originally thought and I originally planned, and ended up dipping all of the cake pops. Now, these candy melts supposedly are red. They don't look very red to me, and I didn't have any chocolate food coloring, so I ended up sprinkling them with some red sanding sugar, and then I also went back in with airbrush as well because it just still wasn't red enough for me.
Now, I will say airbrushing probably isn't the best choice, but it is the desperate and fast choice. The reason I say it's not the best choice is just because some of that airbrush can transfer. Generally, if it's dried out enough, it will be just fine, and if you have a light hand with it, you'll be okay, but it'll also dye people's mouths. So it's really up to you what kind of battles you want with your cake pops. I placed all of my cake pops on this tray and then placed them in the fridge to keep them nice and fresh. I also made sure to cover all of my cakes so they didn't dry out overnight, and I ended up going to bed at a fairly reasonable hour. Definitely well before 3 a.m., not like last time.
Hello everybody, it is day 2 of 3, I guess. It's really early this morning, well, early for me on a Saturday. Normally I get up around like 7 o'clock, and I also got up at 7 o'clock on a weekend, which is not my favorite thing. For some of you, I bet that's probably a sleep-in day, but for me it's not. So right now it's about 7:30. I got ready. I'm clearly going to be going to the gym later, but my gym doesn't open up until 8 o'clock. So my goal is to make all of the cream puffs for the croquembouche for my sister-in-law. It's her favorite thing that I make. Now, I'm not going to do a traditional croquembouche, which is usually done with caramelized sugar and caramel and spun sugar. Instead, I'm just going to do it with white chocolate. I just find it holds up more easily, as in it's easier to break off, and it's not going to go all weird because of different temperatures, which I have experienced. So that's what I'm going to do this morning. Gonna get those cream puffs in there, and I'm not going to fill them until later on. Now, the reason that I'm having such a rush day is because it's Aliya Day, so it's the day to pamper Aliya and thank her for all of the work that she's done. We're going to go to dim sum, which she's never gone to before, at around 10:15-ish. So I have a very small window to get a lot done. I need to get the cream puffs baked, and then I need to go to the gym.
So it really pains me to show you this footage because I end up having to redo this whole process all over again. I made this beautiful craquelin. It turned out really, really nicely. By the way, when you're making craquelin, the easiest way to do this is to put it inside of a Ziploc bag or a plastic bag, doesn't matter what type, and then you go ahead and you roll it out nice and thin directly in the bag. Then you place it in the freezer, and in general, this always works out well where you make the choux pastry, and then by the time you're done making the choux pastry, then the craquelin is perfectly solidified to the temperature that you need it at, and then you can go ahead and place it on your cream puffs. Now, I kind of knew at this stage that something had gone wrong, but I was really hoping that it wasn't going to be super finicky. And as we all know, yes, baking is a science, but there are some recipes where you can kind of get away with not doing the 100% correct thing. Choux pastry definitely isn't one of them, and I really should have known because you can see here that my clumps of choux are really, really tall and kind of hard looking. They don't look exactly correct. And let's take a look at past Ashleigh re-rolling out that craquelin as if it matters at all.
So normally I go to the gym looking like this barefaced, but we are running low on time. It's already 8:30, so I've got another like 20-something minutes on the cream puffs to bake. And so I have to do my makeup before so that when I get home from the gym, I can just go straight out. This is what epic failure looks like. Rushing, over mixing. I gotta do it again. So I'm so incredibly upset right now. Everything is very messed up. I've never messed up cream puffs before, like ever, even the first time that I made them. Something was different about the recipe on the website that I normally use though, so I don't know. But I'm going to the gym now looking like this, and we gotta get Aliya Day started. See ya! Just finished up at the gym. Aliya came and she brought me the last of the cake because she's graduated now and done her red seals, so we're gonna go and celebrate.
The card.
Yeah. Can you read it?
Dearie Aliya.
Aliya.
Thank you for all the things you
All the things you've done. No.
love Aria and Landon. It's so cute.
I I took my failed cream puffs, I put them in the compost. Literally, they were not edible at all, not even as another dessert. And then I went out to dim sum here, and this is Aliya's very first time experiencing dim sum. We had a lot of different dishes. We ordered quite a bit for just the 5 of us, my family plus Aliya, but we really wanted her to be able to try every single thing. And this was actually a fairly traditional spot. We normally go to a place that's a little bit less traditional. We discovered this place not too long ago, so we decided to give it another try.
What do you think so far, Aliya?
Everything is very good so far.
With mommy and Doogie.
Mommy and Doogie. We're going on Saturday, buddy. Soft. Is it hot? Is it good? Good to go? Slurp it out.
So good. I love it.
The soup dumplings ended up being Aliya's favorite part, but this was my favorite part, getting to visit the bakery that's actually right inside of the restaurant. You don't see this very often, but everything was actually very reasonable in price.
Okay, so how was your first dim sum experience?
It was so good. You guys made it very pleasant.
We didn't do anything different, but thank you.
Ari was teaching me all the things.
Was she?
Yeah.
I couldn't hear her.
She was like, this has this and it has this much sugar in it. So if you eat it all together, it'll be really good.
Okay, so our appointment was originally at 12:30 for the permanent jewelry.
But we're going early.
Yes, because we're rebels like that. And because I messed up the cream puffs. So we're trying to save as much time as possible. And yeah. So we're going to go do that. And then we're going to go to this really fun bubble tea place.
Yes. And we're going to do little crafts.
Yes. And the crafts have piping on them. So I think
we're going to be pros.
Yeah, we're going to rock it.
I read all of your comments and suggestions on what I should do for Aliya, and to be honest, none of you suggested this. However, I thought it would be something really, really fun and something long-lasting, so we decided to get permanent jewelry. And I remember asking Aliya, is that weird or is that fun to do it together? We decided it was fun. So here we are choosing what we're going to get. And permanent jewelry really is just a piece of jewelry that has no clasp to it, so you can never take it off. Of course, if you're getting some sort of surgery where you need to take off all of your jewelry, you can snip it off. And what's great about this place is that they will reattach it for you at no cost. I debated for a while about where I wanted to put mine because I originally wanted a bracelet, but then Aliya did point out we do a lot of baking and we work with a lot of fondant, so it would probably really get in the way. So she, of course, was right, so we decided to go with an anklet. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to run with this, and I'm still a little bit nervous that I won't be able to put this into my figure skate, but luckily I don't do a whole lot of figure skating right now, so we are good to go. Also, the wonderful lady that ran the place had a good laugh at how my whole foot was completely dyed red from the cake pops. I even exfoliated and had a shower after that. That stuff just does not come out of things. After treating Aliya to some permanent jewelry, now it was time to treat her to some bubble tea. I have a lot of specific go-to places for bubble tea, but we went here because it had this really cool crafting station. I mean, look at all of the different charms that you could get. Now, I knew I really wanted to do just a food-themed thing because I was going to make something specifically for my second kitchen, but oh my goodness, it would have been so fun to do just a color palette alone. There wasn't a whole lot of instructions given for things, but I had my bubble tea and my charms, so I was pretty pleased for a while. I mean, look at how cute these charms are. They're adorable. Aliya ended up getting a large passion fruit tea, and then I, of course, got a milk tea with pearls because that is my classic go-to drink.
Just like standard milk tea with pearls.
Aliya ended up choosing a decorative wreath for her piece, and look at that beautiful piping work. Yeah, she looks like a girl that got her red seal. Here I am piping some rosettes. What was interesting was different colors. For example, the outside pink versus this inside pink that I'm using had very different textures. So that inside pink that had a little bit more iridescence to it was a lot easier to work with. The first time I piped the outside stuff, it was super, super difficult. And I guess I piped with a heavy hand because the lady looked at my piece and said, that's going to take about a month to dry. Apparently, it's only supposed to take about 4 to 5 days. And I thought that might have been an over-exaggeration, the whole month thing. But yes, it is still squishy and it's sitting in my kitchen. But I do plan on using it for gloves or piping bags. Now, nothing is worse than having to redo something and fix a failure, but here I am. I can't really remember why I ended up making this face that you're going to see in a few seconds, but it really does epitomize the way I was feeling.
This looks a lot better to me than it did the last time this morning. So, fingers crossed, sweetie Van, that this is good to go.
Like I've said before, I've never ever failed with choux pastry, so I was feeling a little insecure. I got Aliya, the Red Seal pastry chef, to double check my work and make sure that it was going to work this time.
Take 2.
And no, I did not make Aliya do any work. She was playing video games with my family while I was doing this because it's Aliya day, so she's supposed to relax. Fairly soon after the cream puffs came out of the oven, Aliya went home. She had a big night out planned with her other friend, and I still had a bunch of decorating to do. So here I am making those Paw Patrol cupcakes. I decided to go with fondant discs, just make everything super, super easy. This entire day and entire weekend just felt like go, go, go because my friend Rachel was actually coming over later on that night and we were meeting some important people. So I really had to make sure that I was actually done everything. And if you watched my short, Paw Patrol definitely is not my favorite, so it really is hard to stay motivated when you're making something that maybe isn't your favorite. Luckily, I love piping, and I love it when it comes out perfectly piped. And I love sprinkles too, so this really did help the process along a little bit more. It was also a beautifully sunny day outside, which really does help lift my spirits. What did not lift my spirits, however, was that some of my guests were arriving as I was finishing up this last little bit. Now, Rachel, of course, is one of my best friends, and she also owns her own bakery, so she understands that I was just having to do what I had to do. But still, I would have preferred if I had these fully done. Luckily, it was just a few minutes of lag time, and then I was able to put all the cupcakes away. And Rachel actually ended up laying out these cupcakes beautifully for me. While I got started on this dinner, I just made a really simple pasta, and we were celebrating the 6 years that my friend has owned her bakery, so we decided to obviously get other people's bakery treats to celebrate. Seriously, those are some of the best desserts that I've ever had in my life.
Right. It is the final day of the weekend, Sunday, still lots to do. Today is the day of my sister-in-law's bridal shower. My kids right now are just getting ready, finishing up because they have to go to a birthday party, the birthday party that I made the cupcakes for, which are all done now, which is fantastic. And my sister already picked them up last night, so I don't have to worry about that. Transport for me is one of the worst things, so really glad that that's off of my list. The cake supply store opens at 10 a.m. this morning. I really need some thick cake boards. I have cake boards that aren't as thick, could probably do the job, but I have to drive about 45 minutes or so. So I really just want to avoid any drama with the delivery. So that is why I'm gonna wait until 10. It is 8:30 right now, so I'm gonna get filling those cream puffs.
Aliya really wanted to be part of that. So there she is, and here I am getting all the fillings ready.
Is it not the worst when you are so privileged to have 2 KitchenAid bowls and they're both dirty?
Cleaning is bad, but unexpected cleaning is the worst, especially when you're already in such a rush. Now, a very silly part of me thought that I could fit the gym in before, but that quickly went to the wayside, and I ended up going to the gym later, way after the wedding shower. Here I am making some espresso filling. This comes together really easily, and it's so delicious. A great balance of sweetness. They're also my sister-in-law's absolute favorite. Now, while I'm waiting for that to whip up, this is what I love about the filling. I really don't have to look at it while it's whipping up. I'm just making sure to puncture a small hole in the back so I can put the filling in. I love this moment with whipped cream where it just starts to get thick enough that you start seeing the ripples. And once you get to this stage, this is when I start adding in the mascarpone. It's really a great thickener, and it does help stabilize everything as well. And for somebody that does not like cheesecakey flavors, it is so light and you don't get that same tang that I'm not a huge fan of.
Okay, cream puffs are filled and it is 9:30 by the time I arrive at the cake store, maybe get a little breakfast. It will be time for the store to open and then we get the boards. Okay, back from the store, got the cake boards, got some more. We're treating with the croquembouche, so we're going with this so we can connect things very, very easily.
I think it was at this moment that I knew I should start panicking and going a lot faster. Everything just took so much longer than expected, even though the store was only about a 15-minute drive away, 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back, plus wait time to actually have it open up. It wasn't super, super on time with opening up. It's a family-run store, so I understand, but yeah, I was falling behind, which is why I ended up going with some fake florals for that tower. While that was chilling in the fridge, I needed to get started on my cake immediately. I really should have gotten a much smaller cake board. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I was thinking that I was going to place some larger flowers on the bottom, which I never end up doing. So yeah, I definitely should have gone with a smaller cake board for that one. I think it would have looked a little bit nicer as well.
Literally running so late right now. I did my makeup in about 3 minutes, literally, and I can't get my beauty shot, so here's to hoping that there's beautiful setup at the place.
I left my kitchen an absolute disaster. Everything was thrown everywhere. I can't even believe that I was able to get lashes on that quickly. I was luckily only a few minutes late, and in classic Vancouver fashion, it was pouring rain outside, so I think that's why my GPS was just a little bit off with its timing. And I was so happy with the way that everything turned out. And actually transferring both these items was very, very easy. The delivery of that was super, super smooth. And this is my other sister-in-law setting out all of these delicious scones that her mother-in-law made. They were so good, so delicious, and really not too heavy at all. They were perfect, especially with that clotted cream and the jams. Ugh, I want some more right now as I'm editing this. The entire wedding shower was high tea or afternoon tea themed, which is exactly the same theme that I had as well for my wedding shower. I think it's just a classic, and I love the idea of small little finger foods that pack a huge punch with flavor. I also ended up bringing some of my Snickers themed macarons as well. And before I knew it, my sister-in-law, the bride-to-be, arrived. And of course, we all have to be wearing heavy blankets in this weather. I could not believe it was so rainy, specifically on this day. Had it just been a little sunnier, I think it would have been even that much better. But we live in Vancouver, so we're kind of asking for it. This was one of the coolest gifts that she received. Everybody told me that I need to get some, so maybe I should test those out. And one of the gifts that we gave her was this collection of all of our favorite recipes. Of course, I included my classic sugar cookie recipe. And my advice to her was always push each other to strive for happiness in your marriage and don't compare your relationship to others. Open and honest communication will always bring you closer together and love with all you have. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading weekly, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!